Charlie has just opened his own hardware store. Even though he knows the basics of business management, he has no idea how to keep financial records. He decides to take a crash course in accounting. Charlie walks into class on day one prepared to conquer accounting. The first thing that he notices when he walks in the room are 3 questions written on the board. The first question asks what accounting is and what its purpose is. The second asks how accounting is important. The last question asks how accounting relates to business. Well, Charlie says to himself, if I knew that, I wouldn't be here. Soon a rather burly-looking old fellow comes in and leans on the podium. Good morning, class. I am Professor Potter. How many of you can answer the questions I have on the board? The room is silent. Well then, I guess we have quite a bit to talk about. I can't promise miracles, but I can promise you that before you leave this room today, you will know the answer to all 3 questions. Professor Potter points to the first question. Speaking loudly, he says, "What is accounting?" I know that you have all heard it before, so tell me what the word accounting means to you. Pointing at Charlie, Professor Potter says, "Go ahead, young man. I'm sure that you can give me some kind of answer." Charlie smiles and says, "Accounting is just a bunch of numbers that get added or subtracted, depending on if you're making money or paying bills." Not a bad answer, Professor Potter says, but accounting is really much more than that. The textbook definition of accounting is that it is the act of collecting, organizing, and interpreting financial data. In a nutshell, that's true. However, to fully understand the entire concept of accounting, there are a few more things that we need to discuss. How many of you know what aloe is? Professor Potter asked. Several people raised their hands. I see that there are a lot of you that know what aloe is. Is aloe the stuff that you can put on a burn to make it feel better? Professor Potter sees several heads bobbing in agreement. That's true. Aloe is a plant that's used to relieve the pain of burns. But did you know that aloe has a place in accounting too? Looking around, Professor Potter sees a room full of questioning faces. He takes a piece of chalk and writes the word aloe on the board. ALOE, class, is an acronym for the most important piece of the accounting puzzle. ALOE stands for assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. These are the components of the basic accounting equation. Assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. Now that you know what aloe represents, let's talk about what each term means. Assets are items that are owned, have value, and can be turned into cash. Bank accounts, CDs, cars, property, and machinery are all examples of assets. Liabilities are what is owed. A loan to purchase an asset is a liability. Owner's equity is the amount of money that a person has invested into an organization. The investment may be in the form of a stock purchase or a capital investment made by buying into a company. The most important thing to remember is that both sides of the accounting equation must be equal. If they don't balance, then there's a problem. Let me see if I understand this correctly, Professor Potter, Charlie says. I'm opening up a hardware store in a building that I inherited. I know that I have to have $30,000 to purchase inventory, $15,000 to purchase shelving, and an additional $10,000 in the bank before beginning operating cost. I had $20,000 of my own money saved, and I borrowed $35,000 from the bank. If I'm looking at this correctly, then my assets are the $30,000 in inventory, plus the $15,000 in shelves I bought and installed, plus the $10,000 in cash that's in the bank for beginning operations. That means my total assets are $55,000. I borrowed $35,000 to get the store going, so that's what I owe, which is a liability. The $20,000 is what I personally invested in the business, so that's my owner's equity. My assets equal $55,000, and the sum of my liabilities and owner's equity equals $55,000. Both sides of the accounting equation are equal, so I balance. You got it, Charlie, Professor Potter says. Does everyone understand the basic accounting equation? The entire class nods their heads. Excellent, then we can move on. Now that you know what aloe is, let's talk about the entire purpose of accounting. Can anyone guess what the main purpose of accounting is? Professor Potter asked. Charlie, feeling rather confident since he's mastered the ALO concept, decides he'll respond to Professor Potter. It seems to me that the purpose of accounting is so that a business knows how to classify its expenses. You're on the right track, Charlie, Professor Potter says, but let me explain this a bit further. Though there are many reasons why companies use accounting, the main reason is to be able to produce financial statements. In order to produce the financial statements,